day when the glory comes, it'll be ours, oh glory. 2020, the year that continues to give and to give. Let us take a collective breath for all that is going on within us, within this city, our nation, and around the world. Let's take a deep breath. Who could have predicted the turn of events here in the United States over the last 48 hours, let alone the last 7 months? With 3.9 million acres now burnt in several of our West Coast states, countless wildlife species are in danger of extinction. With 7.2 million people now infected with COVID, including the President and First Lady of the United States, and more cases throughout the White House and beyond, and 209,000 plus deaths. How can we all be anything but deeply unsettled with the barrage of feelings, emotions? Feelings and emotions ranging from confusion, vengefulness, dread, hopelessness, a bit of hubris, and sheer exhaustion from all that is coming our way. We must feel what we feel. I invite you to find ways to get those feelings and emotions out as best you can through conversations, art, intentional time of silence, making and listening to music, dancing, meditation and prayer, going into nature and being sure we continue to take every safety precaution we can as the pandemic promises to get worse before it gets better. Amen. The sermon for this morning: one day when the glory comes, it will be ours. Even or especially with all that is going on within each of us and all around the country, I strongly believe that Unitarian Universalism is a living faith tradition that can provide some holy ways of living with all that we are experiencing on every level. That more freedom will come for more people if we keep our hands on the justice plow. Tomorrow will mark 2 months of my now living in New York City, and yesterday, just yesterday, was my 7th week of being your assistant minister at Community Church, a historic yet very living congregation. As you might imagine, moving into New York City at any other time might have been filled with easily over 1 million more people, more open restaurants and concerts and theater as far as the soul can reach. Yet, we are here. Here in the middle of some of the deepest uncertainty some have ever known. Unemployment sadly will be increasing again as New York City and many around the country will have to let go of city employees, police and firefighters, and other services, even education, due to budgetary cuts. Need I mention the mess we are now in with our schools opening in varying degrees and with COVID here in New York City above the 3% rate of infection for the first time since June of this year. And yes, We are 30 days away from one of the most consequential elections in our country's history. Did any of you watch this week's debate? This election, as we all know, is ever more critical with the pending near certain attempts to select the next Supreme Court nominee. A nominee who is on record for being funded by anti-LGBT and non-binary groups, and who has no clear path of ever supporting a woman's right to choose regarding her own reproductive rights. Even with all of this, as so clearly noted in this morning's sacred texts, America is this freedom. Reverend Soto puts forth that there is work we all can and must do to keep our hands again on the justice plow, even now. As so clearly stated, Reverend Soto's offering, the day we are in is not unprecedented entirely. America has been unjust before, has ignored both its law and what higher law the soul can sense, that each person is a human, and as a human, it turns out that their life and their bodies belong expressly to them. That is, if they come for my queer body, I will resist. For totalitarianism to thrive, there must be an enemy created. We have watched as queers and trans and non-binary folks and Black and brown neighbors, workers have been made into wanted posters, unwanted faces. The mild reactions of many I would have trusted communicates clearly that they see no danger and that I should wait until it gets bad. America, she writes, your sickness makes me sit and weep. We will rise, of course, but will it be enough? The babies are already in cages. Is that not your alarm? Are you not awake? Bolt upright. Your trans kin are stuck struggling to navigate systems that actively exert the power to define them out of existence, to deny travel documents, healthcare. America, they ask, is this freedom? Who is free? Dear ones, this text came to me during my reflections in July when the Reverend Peggy Clark, our senior minister, and I were discussing that today would be my first worship service here at Community Church of New York. I had no idea at the time that this sacred text would be even more critical now. Through the Reverend Soto's words, I hear a deep, deep challenge to our faithfulness to all that we profess as Unitarian Universalists, or those seeking religious community, that encourage us all to not look away. To not look away from any number of injustices that are more stark now than ever, when it feels like our own liberties may be called into question. As many of you may also know, Brian Stevenson, the founder and executive director of the Equal Justice Initiative out of Montgomery, Alabama, also encourages us all to stay ever vigilant, even as we care for ourselves and each other, to the realities of elusiveness of justice for many, many people in our country and around the world today. In February of 2017, Stevenson, in an address at Yale Divinity School, shared to the standing room only crowd some shocking statistics of incarceration rates here in the United States. he shared. In 1972, 300,000 were in US jails and prison. In 2017, there were 2.3 million. 6 million Americans are on probation or parole. 70% of women in prison are single parents of minor children, and 30% of Black male population in Alabama has permanently lost voting rights. If you're anything like me, I can become so overwhelmed with the realities of all that is required to hear just how real these injustices are, to not look away from the realities that are happening all around us, even on the streets of New York City, no matter the zip code. The questions for me in this moment as to how to possibly respond are as simple as they are complex. I have two that have come to mind. Do we really believe the arc of the moral universe is long and it does ultimately bend towards justice? Two, do we truly believe that Unitarian Universalism, when lived more fully and practiced daily, can transform our ever aching yet beautiful world towards more equity, justice, mercy, and compassion for more people and the planet? If so, can we dare to lose hope, especially now? The next question for me is, where do we begin? Particularly if we have been in the struggle for a long, long time, or even if you are just starting your deeper commitment to act for a more just nation, world, and planet, even during this pandemic. How does this all start? It starts by breathing. Yes, taking a deep breath. We must remember to breathe deeply and often over the next 30 plus days, for it will be an interesting and like no other election. And we must rest when necessary. And we must know that to lose hope now means that all of the ancestors who have lived, fought, and died for a more just world would have been for naught. Can we dare to lose hope? Reverend Soto, again in America Is This Freedom, continues with more provocative musings, a spiritual religious challenge, I think. Reverend Soto suggests, all is not lost, but some is gone. The part of society that could assume that being decent was enough of an expectation to help keep us civil is discovering that disconnected from values, any practice can be destructive. The time for to politely look away as though cruelty is merely somewhat impolite expired some time back. We must get free. They encourage us to do something faithful, do something to interrupt evil. Do not wait, do it now. The time we have left for collecting courage and dealing in compassion is not unlimited. But this is your day. Move into your power and your love. The questions about how continue. What are some of the holy ways, tools, if you will, that might be useful even during a global pandemic to help to co-create more freedom for more people? Brian Stevenson, the Unitarian Universalist Association, and this congregation offer just a few ways to engage this moment in meaningful, religious, and necessary work. During Stevenson's presentation at Yale and in his book and the film Just Mercy, he offers 4 possible ways to engage our justice efforts in meaningful and ever relevant ways. 1, to get closer to the issues we are trying to address and the people we are trying to empower. He shared, there is power in proximity. 2, we need to change the narrative that sustains unjust practices and policies. He stated, I think the great evil of American slavery was the narratives we created to justify it. It is the ideology of white supremacy that we made up. Number 3, hopelessness is the enemy of justice. You can't be a change agent without hope. 4, he suggested you must make a conscious decision to be willing to do uncomfortable things. What is it about us that we want to kill all the broken people? He said, I do what I do because I'm broken too. But there is power in brokenness. Amen? Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, the current president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the Association of Unitarian Universalist Congregations in Boston, launched a major initiative in 2019 called UU the Vote. Its aim has been to galvanize Unitarian Universalist congregations, affiliate organizations of the association to engage in local, national, grassroots organizing to mobilize our power and moral authority to partner with organizations to get ready for this and other elections. Well, UU the Vote organizing is happening in robust ways, and the effort needs our help. As you might have seen on our community church Facebook page, Reverend Peggy put out a call to see if anyone was willing and able to populate our efforts around UU the Vote locally. Please do go to the website and exercise your faithfulness in this way. As I draw this sermon to a close, I wanted to uplift 2 of the many holy ways some of you in the congregation are continuing to help build new ways of engaging this critical moment in our city, in our nation, and around the world. A week ago today, our growing young adult group put forth an extraordinary webinar online after the service, which detailed the ways to ensure the complex absentee voting process. It is complex. They spelled it out for everyone who wanted to learn more. This week, they have made themselves available to help members of the congregation who still have questions beyond what they have posted on our congregational YouTube channel. Please, please, please look forward to more details about how to get prepared to vote. Lastly, our BJ and Helene's shelter committee is hard at work preparing to open our long time, since 1982-83, temporary men's shelter as soon as it is safe to do so, following all the safety guidelines mandated by the CDC and the city of New York. They could always use more volunteers. Friends, I firmly believe, even in these uncertain times, ours is a faith that can and must lean into the highest moral, religious ideals and aspirations that we have. that this congregation has also set for itself. For we together, through our UU faith, in love, compassion, and mercy, can do more to build a more freedom for more people the world over. Amen. May it be so. Blessed be, shalom, salam, ashe, and amen.